Hello. So, change of plans. My husband called me and he said the place I was going was raining and icky. And so he said there was no point in me going up. So instead I came back home and I decided to hang out with my mom. So I'm in her kitchen and we're going to pick up with chapters 3 and 4. Chapter 3, an important paper. Stop, said Annie. We turned here onto 5th Street, then onto Chestnut Street. Jack and Annie trudged through the heat until they came to Chestnut Street. It was much quieter and calmer than Market. Look, that's it, said Jack. He pointed to the brick building and paned windows and a tall bell tower. Its sign in front of it said Pennsylvania State House. Great, said Annie. So this is the place we say we're delivering Dr. Ben's midday meal. Then, to get his attention, we can say we're from the press. That's what the rhyme tells us to do. Got it, said Jack. Let's go. Jack and Annie walked up a pebbled path to the State House. Then they reached the brick building. They knocked on the front door. No one came to let them in. Annie tried to turn the door handle, but it was locked. Looking around, Jack noticed that all the windows were closed. Most of the blinds were drawn. No one's here, he said. He felt sweaty and tired from the humid heat. We came here for nothing. Darn, said Annie. Maybe we should go back to Dr. Ben's house and wait for him there. Suddenly, the door swung open. A guard in a blue jacket and white pants stood before them. He looks like a soldier from the American Revolution, Jack thought. Sorry, my mom walked in. No guests are allowed to enter, the guard said. But, sir, we're not guests, Annie said politely. We're delivering a midday meal for Dr. Ben. It's from his daughter, Miss Sarah. All right, come in, said the guard. He moved away from the door. Thanks, said Annie. She and Jack stepped into the building. The doctor is in the assembly room, the guard said, pointing down the hall. Wait outside the room until they take a break. Yes, sir, said Jack. Jack and Annie tiptoed down the dark, shadowy hallway. Listen, said Annie. Loud voices were coming from the room ahead. The door was half open, so Jack and Annie peeked inside. This must be the assembly room, whispered Jack. The large room had high ceilings and 2 fireplaces. The tall windows were framed by heavy drapes. Men sat at the tables with green tablecloths. They wore long jackets and shirts with ruffled collars. They all had hair that came to their shoulders. At the front of the room, a white-haired man sat on a raised platform in a high-backed chair, not collar. He seemed to be in charge. Another man stood at the front of the table, hurriedly writing. Several men were talking. Gentlemen, you are wrong. Ooh. No, you want to give too much power to the national government. He is correct. But we have no Bill of Rights, our freedom of speech. What about trial by jury? The man in charge banged a gavel against his desk. Order, he said. Raise your hands if you wish to speak. What's going on? Annie whispered to Jack. I'm not sure, Jack whispered back. I'll check our book. He reached into his bag and pulled out their Pennsylvania book. He opened to a chapter about old Philadelphia. He turned the page. Wow, Jack whispered. He showed Annie the painting in the book. Look, it's the same. Annie looked at the painting in the back of the men in the room. In this meeting, Annie whispered, what's going on? He read silently. In 1787, after the Revolutionary War, America was made up of 13 separate colonies. Each was like a different country. Would the colonies remain separate or become a nation of states? That summer, 55 delegates met in Philadelphia to answer this question. James Madison took daily notes on the meetings. In the end, he wrote America's most important document. Oh man, thought Jack. He understood everything now. Annie, I get it. She whispered. She repeated a line from Morgan's passage. Paper must be signed. I know, whispered Jack. They're creating the United States Constitution. The Constitution? That's a big deal, whispered Annie. A huge deal, whispered Jack. He and Annie read more. The document was the United States Constitution. It contained the basic laws that define how American government works. The Constitution created the presidency, the Supreme Court, and the Congress. James Madison's work made him known as the father of the Constitution. Besides Madison, some of the most famous delegates were General George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, and Dr. Benjamin Franklin. Dr. Ben, said Jack. I think I see him, whispered Annie. Where, said Jack. There, said Annie. The old man in the glasses. Annie pointed to an older man with a wispy gray hair and glasses. He was wiping his face with a handkerchief. Yes, whispered Jack, that's Miss Dr. Benjamin Franklin. Chapter 4. How strange. Benjamin Franklin, Annie whispered. I can't believe it, said Jack. I've seen him on posters at home, said Annie, for a show at the little theater, Benjamin Franklin in Paris. Right, said Jack. The gardener was making sense after all, he thought. Jack knew that Benjamin Franklin was a scientist, an inventor, a diplomat, a writer, and almost everything else you could think of. Where's George Washington? Whispered Annie. He must be in front, said Jack. He pointed to the white-haired man in the high-backed chair on the platform. The general was much older than he was when they'd met him in 1776, but he still looked strong and powerful. I wonder if he'll remember us, whispered Annie. I hope he doesn't, said Jack. He's a lot older, and we're not. That would be hard to explain. That man writing must be James Madison, said Annie. She pointed to the small, thin man writing at the front of the table. George Washington banged his gavel again and rose from his chair. We must stop now, he said. Let us put aside our differences and enjoy a meal together. The delegates began rising from their chairs. Some were still grumbling and shaking their heads. George Washington walked over to Benjamin Franklin. Ben leaned on his walking stick as the two men spoke quietly. Let's go, said Annie. Wait, said Jack, we need to plan what to say to him. But before he could stop her, Annie hurried across the room with Ben's food basket. Oh man, thought Jack, following her. Ben caught sight of them. Hello, children, he said with a friendly smile. George Washington looked startled when he saw Jack and Annie. Have we met before? He asked in a deep, calm voice. Actually, Annie started, but then stopped. Jack shook his head. I know, said George Washington. You remind me of two children I met during the war. Strange. Really, said Annie. Yes, they were remarkable, said George Washington. But that was 11 years ago. They would be grown by now. I thought of them often. Jack glanced at Annie, trying to hide a smile. What can we do for you, children? Ben asked. Sir, we brought you your midday meal. It's from your daughter, Sarah, said Annie. She held out the basket of food. Oh, well, thank you, said Ben, chuckling. He set the basket down at the nearest table. Celery and cabbage, no doubt. Sarah's always trying to keep me healthy. George Washington smiled. Enjoy your meal, my friend, he said to Ben. If you prefer steak pie and beer, join us at the tavern. With a nod to Jack and Annie, George Washington left. Tell me, how did you happen to deliver my meal today? Ben asked Annie. His eyes were bright with curiosity. I was expecting Louis. Louis was supposed to bring it, said Annie, but he went swimming. We told John we would do it. How kind of you, said Ben. And what are your names? Jack and Annie, said Jack. Well, thank you very much, Jack and Annie, said Ben Franklin, and good day to both of you. As Ben started to walk away, Jack remembered Morgan's message. Sir, he blurted out, we're from the press. Ben whirled around. The press? The Gazette? He whispered. Yes, Jack answered. What was the Gazette? He wondered. No, oh dear, no, whispered Ben. The Gazette is sending children to report on us. He looked around anxiously. We must leave at once. Come quickly, follow me. Using his walking stick, Ben hobbled to the doorway of the assembly room. Jack was confused. What had they done? Sir, he said, as they rushed down the hallway after Ben. We're actually... Quiet, not here, not another word here. That way, out the back, said Ben. Using his cane, he hurried to the back of the State House. This way, come with me, he said. He opened the door and stepped outside. Jack and Annie followed Ben Franklin into the burning summer heat. And that is the end of chapter 4. I will be back with chapters 5 and 6. I had to think about it.